30 years ago, back in 1990, I visited BMW in Munich as part of my PhD program. Beyond seeing my first wind tunnel and my first light tunnel and a couple of exciting prototypes, what struck me most was the collaboration between engineering and procurement. In those days, procurement was still a fairly new discipline, and at most other companies, procurement and engineering were far apart, both in terms of their standing and geographically. Procurement would be limited to negotiating prices and terms and conditions, while engineering called all the shots with suppliers. BMW was completely different. At BMW, engineering and procurement managers shared offices. Their respective teams were close by, and the prototype shop was just one floor below. When suppliers came to visit, they routinely met both the engineer and the procurement manager. And even if the topic was on technical details of an ongoing project, the procurement manager overheard the conversation. Likewise, new suppliers and suppliers with new ideas or suppliers with new insights into BMW's competitors talking to the procurement manager could hardly escape the attention of the engineering manager. This proximity fostered strong bonds and let engineering and procurement feel that they co-owned the product lifecycle. The result was a highly dynamic BMW that churned out products that were more exciting than those of its competitors, and this allowed BMW to gain market share while gradually increasing its average selling price. In this video, I'm going to show why it is important that procurement owns the product lifecycle and how you can build on BMW's early success in this area. Let's get started. 30 years later, a lot of companies continue to believe that procurement is just here to manage cost. But procurement is spending a lot of time talking to suppliers. Procurement knows a lot about current and future competitor products and how they are doing in the market. Via the same channels, procurement is also exposed to a stream of ideas regarding new technologies, new components, new ways of making products. Ignoring these insights, as many of the industry peers are doing, is wasteful. You should give procurement the opportunity to shape your CEO agenda. At most of the industry peers, the stream of ideas from procurement is reduced to a trickle. If ideas make it through at all, they often come in after the product has already been launched. Implementing ideas that late is cumbersome, ineffective, and wastes a lot of money that has been spent on the previous, less than optimal iterations. Giving procurement as much say as possible in the early stages of the product lifecycle to own it, or at least co-own it, will greatly increase your effectiveness. This will of course challenge the established thinking of marketing, product management, engineering and manufacturing. As a matter of fact, it will challenge the thinking of the entire company. But your products will launch at better cost, better quality, better speed, better innovation and at much lower risk. Giving procurement this much broader mandate requires a paradigm shift that can be facilitated by picturing procurement as the mirror image of marketing and sales. You have two main conduits for communicating to the outside world. Marketing and sales on the one end of the company and, in perfect symmetry, procurement on the other end of the company. If you want to see this perfect symmetry in action, look at Apple. Across the high-tech industry, Apple is admired for great product marketing and great supply chain. Product marketing is figuring out what may excite customers 3 years from now. Procurement is out hunting for innovation that can be produced at scale. Converging these opposite points of view results in Apple's product roadmap. With this approach, Apple avoids many of the mistakes that are commonplace at other companies. Let me illustrate this with 3 examples. First, procurement at Apple does not get bullied by engineering into accepting a supplier that may be good on paper, but causes operational issues and huge cost increases during series production. Second, Apple does not engage in defeaturing or decontenting a product after SOP. In the automotive industry, it is common practice to first design features and parts into a product, only to take them out after a year or 2. Consider all the sunk cost in engineering, procurement, manufacturing, and at the supplier. Third, Apple does not get blindsided by overly relying on preferred suppliers. Many companies fall victim to a cozy relationship between engineering and suppliers who know the company inside out. This results in missing the boat in terms of technology with overly conservative design approaches that may jeopardize the future of the company. In order for you to follow the early example of BMW and the recent example of Apple, you need to give procurement a new focus and a new mandate. Traditionally, the focus of procurement is on cost reduction only. You should shift this focus to profitable growth. This may sound familiar, but profitable growth is so much more than just low cost. It encompasses topics like ensuring that you have the right products with the right innovation provided by the right suppliers. The traditional mandate of procurement is to support the corporate strategy. You should shift it to driving the corporate strategy. If you're skeptical, look at Apple for inspiration. Steve Jobs handpicked Tim Cook, essentially Apple's head of procurement, to succeed him. And right now, Apple is the first publicly listed US company with a $1.5 trillion market valuation. Let's pick one example to illustrate what this means in practice. The engineers of most car makers rely on the same handful of suppliers to design and manufacture the wiring harnesses for their cars. A wiring harness is a bunch of cables that connect everything electrical in your car and looks like this. Since the wires are dangling around, making the wiring harness is a highly manual task. And since manual labor is expensive, this typically is offshored to low labor cost countries in North Africa and Central America. This makes supply chains long and vulnerable, and the race towards countries with even lower labor cost is ultimately untenable. Even before the current crisis, several suppliers of wiring harnesses were in financial difficulty, and procurement is bearing the brunt of the problems. Engineering is designing wiring harnesses as they have done over the past decades with the suppliers they know and trust. Procurement has to mitigate supply disruptions caused by labor shortages and cost-up demands from suppliers to keep them afloat. Today, a typical wiring harness for a car is 2 to 3 kilometers long and weighs about 100 kilograms and costs about $900. And it is the same across the entire automotive industry, with one exception. The wiring harness of Tesla's new Model Y is just 100 meters long, weighs about 20 kilograms and costs about $110. Tesla's wiring harness is made by robots. It does not rely on low labor costs, therefore it can be made close to the car factory. This means that it does not require long and vulnerable supply chains. And next to cost, weight and supply chain advantages, Tesla's wiring harness is also much greener. Less material, less weight, and short supply chains equals a small carbon footprint in manufacturing and also a small carbon footprint when the car is driven. Like BMW and Apple, Tesla shows how important it is to give the right focus and the right mandate to procurement so that it can own the product lifecycle. And Tesla appears to be doing well. As of today, they are the world's most valuable car maker by market capitalization. So in summary, my recommendation to you is to give procurement a focus on profitable growth and a mandate to shape the corporate strategy. With this, you ensure that procurement owns the product lifecycle. Looking at the success stories of BMW, Apple and Tesla shows that this is a smart move. Reach out to me in the comments down below if you would like to discuss any aspect of this video, and I promise to get back to you within 24 hours. And if useful, I may even respond with a dedicated video. Thank you for watching and stay safe. Bye.